Welcome to Barbara's Bulletin, the podcast where we dive into the latest news and current events. We have a lot to cover, so let's get started. First up, we're looking at a developing story involving President Donald Trump and his relationship with Republican lawmakers. It seems that some Republicans are starting to push back against the president's agenda, particularly when it comes to his $1.8 billion anti-weaponization fund. This fund has been a point of contention, with many questioning its purpose and how the money will be used. We're also seeing some opposition from Republicans on other issues, such as Trump's war against Iran and his legislation on domestic spying. The House recently passed a bill to provide aid to Ukraine and impose new sanctions on Russia, which could potentially be vetoed by the president. It's worth noting that while some Republicans are speaking out against certain aspects of Trump's agenda, it's unclear whether this will translate into a full-blown revolt against the president. Some Democrats are skeptical, saying that there's been no evidence to suggest that the party as a whole is willing to defy Trump on major issues. One thing that is clear, however, is that the relationship between Trump and Republican lawmakers is complex and multifaceted. We'll be keeping a close eye on this story as it continues to unfold. In other news related to President Trump, his expected nomination of Todd Blanche as permanent U.S. Attorney General could face an uphill battle in the Senate. Blanche, who previously served as Trump's attorney, will need to answer tough questions from lawmakers if he hopes to secure the position. We'll be right back with more of today's top news on Barbara's Bulletin. Welcome back to Barbara's Bulletin. We're diving into our middle segment today, where we'll be discussing the complex situation in Kosovo. As you may know, the country has been facing a political crisis, with tensions running high between the government and opposition parties. The latest developments have put Kosovo's future path to EU integration under scrutiny. To break it down, the current president, Vjosa Osmani, called for snap elections after the parliament failed to elect a new president due to a rift between her and the caretaker government led by Prime Minister Albin Kurti. The main issue here is that Kurti's ruling party, Veta Vendoše, has been taking an aggressive approach towards the ethnic Serb minority, which has 10 guaranteed seats in parliament. Kurti's actions have raised concerns among the international community, particularly in Brussels, where many are watching the situation closely. The EU has invested significantly in Kosovo since 1999 and is eager to see strong, stable, and functioning institutions in place. However, Kurti's resistance to normalizing ties with Serbia and respecting the rights of the ethnic Serb minority has put him at odds with both the EU and the United States. Now, it's essential to acknowledge that many Kosovo voters support Kurti's stance on these issues. Nevertheless, the lack of compromise and the ongoing tensions have led to a stalemate in the country's political landscape. As we move forward, it's crucial to consider the perspectives of all parties involved and work towards finding common ground. The upcoming elections will undoubtedly be a critical moment for Kosovo's future. Will the voters opt for Kurti's party, or will they choose an alternative path? One thing is certain, the international community will be watching closely, hoping for an outcome that brings stability and progress to the region. As we continue to monitor the situation in Kosovo, it's clear that the road ahead will be challenging. But with open dialogue and a commitment to understanding different viewpoints, perhaps we can find a way forward that benefits all parties involved. Welcome back to Barbara's Bulletin. As we wrap up today's show, let's take a look at some significant developments in international relations. Chinese leader Xi Jinping is set to travel to North Korea next week, marking his first visit in nearly 7 years. This trip aims to strengthen ties and advance regional peace and stability between China and its nuclear-armed neighbor. According to reports, Xi's visit will serve to reassert China's influence over Pyongyang and safeguard its strategic interests in Northeast Asia. The announcement comes just a day after North Korea unveiled a new facility to produce material for nuclear bombs believed to be a uranium enrichment plant. North Korean leader Kim Jong-un has been focusing on expanding his nuclear arsenal since his diplomacy with former U.S. President Donald Trump collapsed in 2019. Kim's goal is to cement his country's status as a nuclear weapons state and potentially demand the lifting of economic sanctions imposed by the U.S. Analysts will be watching closely to see how China addresses calls for North Korea's denuclearization during Xi's visit. It's worth noting that Russia and China, both veto-wielding members of the UN Security Council, have previously opposed efforts to toughen international sanctions on North Korea despite its banned weapons tests. As we consider the implications of this visit, it's essential to recognize the complex geopolitical dynamics at play. The trip highlights the ongoing tensions between major world powers and the delicate balance of international relations. That's all for today's Barbara's Bulletin. Remember to like, share, and subscribe, and until next time, stay engaged.